I found out my marriage was a lie on a Tuesday morning. Not because of another person, not because of anything I did, but because of a number on a piece of paper that I was never supposed to see. 200,000 euros, sitting in an account I didn't even know existed. And the craziest part? I almost walked away from the divorce without ever finding out. This is the story of how I discovered my wife had been hiding money from me for years, what happened when that secret blew up in the middle of our divorce, and what I learned about the person I thought I knew better than anyone in the world. Let me take you back to the beginning, because none of this makes sense without the context. I met Sophia when we were both 26. We were at a birthday party for a mutual friend, and she was the kind of person who lit up a room without trying. Not in a loud, look-at-me way, more like she just had this calm energy that made you want to be near her. We started dating 3 months later. By 28, we were living together. By 30, we were married. For the first few years, everything was good. Not perfect, no marriage is, but genuinely good. We argued about normal things, dishes, whose family to visit at Christmas, whether the dog needed a coat in winter, small stuff, nothing that felt like a warning. We split our finances pretty simply. We each had our own account. We had one joint account for the house, food, bills. Every month, we both put the same amount into the shared account, and whatever we had left over was ours to do what we wanted with. Or, at least, that's what I thought. Sophia worked in finance. She was good with money, better than me, honestly. I never questioned the way she handled things because she always seemed on top of it. Bills got paid, savings grew, life moved forward. What I didn't know, what I had no reason to suspect, was that for years she had been quietly moving money into an account that existed completely outside of our life together. The cracks in the marriage started showing around year 6. I don't think there was one big moment that broke us. It was more like a slow leak. We stopped talking as much. We started spending more time in separate rooms. Date nights became something we talked about doing, but never actually did. I suggested counseling. She said she'd think about it. She never brought it up again, and I let it go. By year 7, we were basically roommates. Polite, functional, but there was nothing underneath anymore. No warmth, no connection, just two people sharing a space out of habit. I was the one who finally said it out loud. I remember sitting at the kitchen table on a Sunday, watching her read a book and thinking, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I told her that. I said I thought we should separate. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She just nodded slowly and said, I think you're right. That probably should have told me something. We agreed to keep things civil. No lawyers, just mediation. We didn't have kids, so the main thing to sort out was the apartment, the savings, and the car. We each submitted a financial statement to the mediator, basically a list of everything you own, everything in your accounts, any debts, all of it, full transparency. That's how the process is supposed to work. Sophia submitted hers, I submitted mine. The mediator reviewed everything, and then a week later, I got a call from my lawyer. I had a lawyer, even though we weren't doing full litigation, because a friend of mine pushed me to at least have someone look over the paperwork before I signed anything. I almost said no. I almost just trusted the process and moved on. That one decision changed everything. My lawyer had done a routine check, just to make sure everything lined up, and in that check, a discrepancy showed up. A property tax record attached to Sophia's name that didn't match anything in her financial statement. He called it irregular. I called it a punch to the stomach. When he dug deeper, what he found was that Sophia had an account, a personal savings account, opened about 4 years into our marriage that she had never mentioned, not once, not to me, not to the mediator. By the time we were in the middle of the divorce, that account had over 200,000 euros in it. I want to stop here for a second and just describe what it feels like to hear that number in that context, because I don't think I can skip over it. It's not just anger. Anger is too simple. It's more like the ground disappears under your feet. You start replaying everything, every vacation she said we couldn't afford,
Every time she said we needed to be careful with money. Every argument about whether we could do this renovation or take that trip. And you realize you were making decisions based on a reality that wasn't real. She had 200,000 euros tucked away and let me stress about whether we could afford a kitchen renovation. That's not a mistake. That's a choice, over and over and over again. When my lawyer brought this to the mediator, everything stopped. The whole process froze. What had been a clean, friendly, let's just move on with our lives divorce turned into something completely different overnight. Sophia's lawyer tried to argue that the money was personal, that she had saved it over years from her salary, that it wasn't marital property, that she had the right to keep it private. Here's the thing, though. In Portugal, where we live, when you're married under the standard property regime, which we were, assets accumulated during the marriage are generally shared. It doesn't matter whose name the account is in. It doesn't matter who earned the money. If it came in during the marriage, it belongs to both of you.
She knew this. She works in finance. She absolutely knew this. The account didn't exist before we got married. She opened it 4 years after our wedding, and the money inside it had been building for over a decade. Her lawyer pushed back hard. Mine pushed back harder. I remember sitting in a meeting room across a table from her, and it was the first time I really looked at her face in months. And I didn't see guilt. I didn't see regret. I saw someone doing a calculation. That was the moment I understood that I hadn't just been lied to about money. She had built a backup life. That's the only way I can describe it. Think about it from where I'm standing. You don't put 200,000 euros in a secret account because you're saving for a surprise vacation. You do it because somewhere in your head, you've already started preparing for a future that doesn't include your partner. At some point, and I'll never know exactly when, she had decided the marriage was over. And instead of telling me, instead of working on it or ending it honestly, she quietly started building a life raft. And I was still on the boat, thinking we were sailing together. People close to me reacted in different ways when I told them. Some were angry on my behalf, some were sad. One friend, someone who had been through a divorce herself, said something that has stayed with me ever since. She said, "The money is the easy part to be angry about. The hard part is realizing how long you were kept in the dark." She was right. The money was going to get sorted out. The law was pretty clear on that. But what do you do with the years? What do you do with all the moments you thought were real that were actually happening next to a secret? The legal process dragged on for almost 8 months after my lawyer made that discovery. Eventually, the hidden account was ruled marital property. The funds were included in the total division of assets. I won't get into the exact numbers, but the outcome was very different from what it would have been if that account had stayed hidden. Sophia was furious. And I found that strange, the fury, because I was the one who had been lied to. I was the one who had spent a decade living next to someone with a secret exit plan, and somehow she was the one who walked away feeling wronged. I've thought about that a lot since then. I think what she was angry about wasn't that she got caught. It was that she had planned everything so carefully. She had been patient, strategic, methodical, and then one routine check by a lawyer I almost didn't hire unraveled all of it in a matter of days. All that planning for nothing. It's been about 2 years since the divorce was finalized. I'm not going to pretend I'm fully over it because I don't think that's how it works. You don't just get over something like this. You learn to carry it differently. What I can tell you is that I understand things now that I didn't understand before. I understand that people can be two things at once. Sophia was a real partner to me in many ways for many years. She was also capable of something that, to me, felt like a deep betrayal. Both of those things are true. I spent a long time trying to make those two truths fit together, and eventually I realized they don't have to fit. People are complicated. Life is complicated. I also understand that the legal process, as slow and painful as it was, worked the way it was supposed to. I almost skipped it. I almost signed the first set of papers without looking closely. If I had done that, I would have walked away from a 10-year marriage with half of what I should have had, and I would have never known why. If you're ever going through a divorce, or you know someone who is, please get a lawyer, even if it feels unnecessary, even if you trust the other person, even if everything seems simple. The paperwork matters. A second set of eyes matters. Don't skip that step. The last time I saw Sophia was at a coffee shop. It was by accident. She was there with a friend when I walked in. We nodded at each other, nothing more. I used to imagine that if I ever ran into her, I'd have something to say, something powerful, something that would make her understand what she had done to me. But standing there in that coffee shop, I didn't feel angry anymore. I didn't feel sad. I mostly just felt like a person who had been through something hard and had come out the other side still intact. That felt like enough. If anything from this story resonated with you, the next video on this channel is going to hit just as hard. Go watch it.